Welcome to the Final Word Ashes Daily, brought to you with Westfield London. I'm Melissa Story. Joining me today, Alex Hartley. What a game we have just seen.
One of the most remarkable games of cricket I've ever watched, and the fact that the Aussies have lost 2 in a row. They've lost a series for the first time in 6 years. The last time they lost a series outright was in 2017. I mean, this Australia team don't lose. They didn't lose. It was a brilliant game of cricket, and England, they needed something remarkable to stay in this Ashes series. We thought that, Australia couldn't do it, they wouldn't do it, but they did. England couldn't do it, they wouldn't do it, but they did, and it's been fantastic. And the fact we've had another record crowd here, record crowd at Edgbaston, beaten at the Oval, beaten here at Lord's, it's just getting bigger and better.
Now, are you ready for it? For people who didn't catch the game, I'm going to need you to summarise it in 30 seconds.
Oh, I don't even know how I can do that. England needed 119 to win from 14 overs. A pretty stiff Duckworth-Lewis target, if we're being completely honest. England, they were going at a run of ball. They were ahead of the game for a while. Alice Capsey, 46 from 23 balls, was the match winner. She was the game changer. And Australia, they looked like they were panicking. They didn't know where to turn. Georgia Wareham came into the attack. She turned things on its head again. And then England needed 2 to win from the final over. Danny Gibson, she's got ice in her veins. She reverse sweeps her first ball for 4. England win.
The idea of time is subjective anyway. I'm not sure how close to 30 seconds that was, but there was a brilliant summary, Alex. I mean, kicking things off, Australia with their innings 155. What was that enough? Because this Lord's pitch, we've seen it is tricky. I mean, the hundreds finals, which are consistently hosted on this ground, have proven lovely low-scoring affairs, which everyone wants in T20 cricket. It's so entertaining. So there's always a few question marks before coming here for a T20. But 155 looked good.
It did look good. It looked very good. I think it was probably just above par, to be completely honest with you. And then, we thought that spin might come into play more. The pitch might be tacky, but it wasn't. It was the seamers. They were the pick of the bowlers today. And yeah, I think, Australia, they were under the pump. England got off to a flyer, 29 for none after 3 overs. It was almost looked like Australia, we've not got a wicket. Where do we turn? What do we do?
Well, they're a team so used to winning that you almost ask, when they get themselves into a losing, not a losing position, but a position they could lose it, they forget how to win.
I mean, they just don't lose, do they? And I think that will hurt Australia. Alyssa Healy at the end of the game, Henry Moran asked how she felt and how that was, and she just said, ouch. I mean, and that says it all, doesn't it? Because they don't lose games of cricket. As I said, the first time they've lost a series for 6 years. It's almost like you can't believe this Australia team aren't lifting the trophy, because we're so used to seeing Australia lift the trophy. But England, remarkable from them. They needed something very, very special to keep this Ashes series alive. It's now 6-4 going into the ODIs.
I mean, you can tell the joyous, definitely unbiased commentators from us of the massive smiles on our faces, and the fact that when Danny Gibson, Gloucestershire's Danny Gibson, I'm going to add in there, hit the winning runs, the commentary box turned into almost the cheesy dance floor which you'll see in most student nights on a Wednesday. People were dancing about, they were having a good time. But even from, the objective viewer's point of view, to see a series this open against Australia, I mean, we read out a brilliant tweet from Nick Friend, who said the last time Australia had lost a series, Alice Capsey was 12 and Theresa May was still Prime Minister.
I mean, that's a long time ago, isn't it? It shows how much has changed. Alice Capsey was the standout performer today, the player of the match. She was fantastic. She was due a score. She'd had a couple of single-figure scores and she was under pressure. It was almost like she needs something to happen here, and it all went her way. She was remarkable. She was devastated when she hit a full toss straight to mid-wicket. She was out for 46. The way she was walking off, she had a bat over her head. She was like, I can't believe what I've just done. But she changed the game and got England in front.
And it was the younger players. I mean, Danny White, of course, got England off to a flyer, but really Alice Capsey, does she epitomise that younger generation now who've played in front of crowds in the 100, doubled those crowds playing in the Women's Premier League, and now playing in front of 20,000 at Lord's? It's pretty easy. It probably wouldn't faze her. Yeah,
the pressure of the crowd probably doesn't faze the younger girls, but also the scars that Australia have caused over the last 6 years, they're not there for the younger players. They haven't lost games of cricket to Australia. They don't have that psychological advantage over them, and it's actually showing. The way Lauren Bell bowled tonight, she was fantastic, she was brilliant for England, and then Alice Capsey finishing things off. So this new generation of England player, as I say, they don't have those scars.
Now
it's just me that's got all the scars.
And we thank you for your service and the emotional baggage you've carried all these years and you bring to the commentary box. It's wonderful. For me, the big question for Australia were two things, or potentially two moments they lost the game, was that opening stint against Danny Wyatt, where they had a fielder at deep square, deep mid-wicket. Everyone knows that Danny Wyatt can be a bit vulnerable to bowling on the pads, but there was a massive gap at cover, and she went and smacked 4 or 5 boundaries through there, gave England the head start they needed. That was one question mark around that one.
Yeah, for me, you always look to cramp Danny Wyatt up for room, and she took apart Megan Shute, and I was actually crying out for Shute to come around the wicket and cramp Wyatt for room, bowl at her body, don't allow her to hit through the offside. She said in her post-match interview she's got dodgy wrists, so she just flicks through the offside, and she batted very well and she put pressure on Australia. But I think Australia, they're going to have to look at their plans and rewrite their plans, because you have to cramp a batter like that up for room, get her hitting to your sweepers, especially if they're at deep square and deep mid-wicket.
What are those things called, you know, where in like spy movies or action movies that the protagonist is lying in bed staring at the ceiling, almost clenching on those things to strengthen. Megan Shute, there you go back to the hotel, get that wrist strength up, and then when we're ready for the ODI, she'll be able to control that line a bit more. The second question mark for Australia for me, Georgia Wareham didn't bowl at all in the T20 at the Oval on Wednesday, and she bowled 2 overs here, went for just 10 runs, picked up a wicket. Why was she only introduced as the 6th bowler when you've got wrist spin and a T20?
Yeah, look, she didn't bowl well in the first ODI. She got taken apart by England, and I think that will have been a factor for that. England really changed the game in that first ODI and got some momentum. I think it was Amy Jones at the time. So then she didn't bowl in that second T20, and tonight the ball's slippery. You know, it's hard to keep hold of. But yeah, it's one of those, I think, you know, it's one of those T20 cricket, anything can happen, and you need a bowler to step up to the occasion, and she did that.
You prophesised there the first ODI rather than saying T20,
Oh,
but it's good
T20.
to know that you look into your crystal ball at night time and go, Georgia Wareham's going to go for some runs in the first ODI. There you have it. You've got an exclusive from Alex Hartley here. And, you know, in terms of the crowd and the impact this will have, as an ex-player, coming to 3 T20s in a row, over 60,000 people in them, is there still that, you know, that young girl in you who looks around and goes, oh my God, what's happening here?
Yeah, and there's also that bit about me that gets really, really frustrated about it, because it shows when you market the games properly, people are interested and people turn up. And if we're being completely honest, after 2017, it was a watershed moment for women's cricket, but we didn't capitalise on it. You know, we went back to the KSL, it wasn't advertised, there was no crowds. England went back to playing at Derby, Leicester, no offence to them, they've been great for women's cricket in the past few years, but you know, you can't have the opportunity of having 20,000 people at a ground if you're at grounds that only hold 3,000 or 4,000. So credit to the ECB for marketing this Ashes incredibly well. The ODIs are all sold out as well, but they can't go backwards now, can they?
Now, your Hall of Fame moment of the game, Alex, have you had time to think about this? What's it going to be?
The Australians just losing, obviously.
All Australian listeners of the podcast is going to be going, brilliant. Yeah, get 2 English girls on to review this game, and it's going to be great for us, isn't it? For me, I've got 2. Oh. One's a funny one. You know, kind of at university cricket, you have, I'm not going to say the word, but dummy of the day, let's say. For me, the fact England dropped about 5 catches in the field. They did not want the ball. They wanted to leave the ball. They were Cinderella. They just didn't want to go anywhere near it. And suddenly you've got a team who dropped 5 really easy catches and still went on to win the game. I think that's funny. I think it's village. I honestly found it really entertaining by the end, because you have the brilliant friendship of Alice Capsey and Sophie Eccleston, and you've got her dropping an absolute dolly off her bowling.
Yeah, it didn't go down well, did it? Eccleston frowned and frowned and frowned, and she looked miserable.
My other moment, quick shout out, as I already mentioned, Danny Gibson coming in, facing the first ball, reverse sweeping the ball away for the winning runs, playing just her 3rd international game. I mean, to be able to come out and do that, that truly sums up this change of mindset for England. John Ball, Trev Ball, whatever we want to call it.
John Ball. We'll call it John Ball.
So here we go. We've got the birth of John Ball with these T20s here, where England have beaten Australia in back-to-back games. And we go on to 3 sold-out ODIs in this Women's Ashes. It's still up for both teams to win. I'm very excited, Alex Hartley.
Me too. Bring it on.